Hi champions, let's make this lesson count. We were supposed to begin our lesson with the two elements of poetry that remained in the last lesson, which are point of view and setting. However, we already did these elements when we were dealing with short story analysis. You only need to apply those elements here. This means we are going directly to literary devices. We all know that a device is something that can be used in a construction of a certain thing. And when makers use these devices, they apply unique and styles so as to come up with a best thing out of their work. In literary works, these tools are also used and are known as the literary devices. Let us now look at these devices in detail. What is a literary device? So when we talk of literary devices, we mean tools, techniques, and writing styles that writers use to catch the reader's attention and make their pieces interesting. It is these devices that make a poem, a short story, a play, or a novel interesting. Literary devices can cover three major areas depending on whether they talk of the structure of the literary piece, the meaning of the words used there, or the use of specific sound patterns that make a piece of work interesting to read or listen to. And these major areas are writing styles, poetic devices, and figures of speech. Poetry writing styles. These are ways in which writers present the order of events in their poem, stories, novels, or plays. So it should be known that these ways form part of literary devices since they influence the appeal created by the literary piece in question. And these ways are chronology. This is a logical presentation of a poem's events. In this style, the poet presents a story in a good and well-followed order from the start to its end with little or no interruption. So it means the words, lines, or stanzas in the poem are not interrupted, or if there is an interruption, but it is a little one. We also have flashback. It is a style of writing whereby a normal flow of a poem is interrupted by bringing events that took place in the past before the events being presently narrated. This is the most commonest way of writing and makes the poem sound extraordinarily nice. This kind of style mostly begins at climax and restrads to the back. Let us look at the following poem written in a flashback style. Thank you. Now you beat and make me cry, making me swallow my own tears. But how can you forget that day you met my parents and made them have no fears? You told me with your two-faced tongue my happiness would be first on the list and to wait for a bunch of roses. Did you mean this daily feast? Do not answer me, you devil. You showered me with beautiful promises as we had sweet moments together. I thought you would be my happiness, but now I am a twin sister of ugliness. Did you just fake it? Now go on and kill me so that I join my parents and leave you a happy person. For everything I have done, my word is thank you. So since the story in the poem has shifted from the present state of the persona being continuously beaten to the time she was in a courtship with the addressee, it is then a good example of flashback. Foreshadow is a style of writing whereby a poet through persona tells in advance what would happen ahead of the events that are being currently explained. The things under this style can be in the form of dreams. Maybe the person is dreaming, or they're just having wishes, future fears, or just mere plans. It allows a person to imagine their future world. For example, nostalgia. In the back seat of the coach, he smelled the flowers of around his house. Years had passed since he had left for the city. What a pity. But he was still kilometers away. He envisioned the warmth of his mother as he hugged her tightly, his siblings curiously asking about the life in the capital, he fancied, cracking jokes with his father while eating roasted maize with the family. Then boom, a strong bump on the road disturbed all his affectionate thoughts. Pop up! A loud hooting was heard. The goat was crossing the road. He scratched his head. Slowly, the coach moved. So since the poem presents what the persona in the coach thinks, before even the things happen, it is then a foreshadowing. Suspense. This is when a poet leaves a story in the poem incomplete without revealing what happens next from the point of ending. This style is mostly seen at the end, and it is very tempting. It gives readers a lot of thoughts as they try to find an answer to the question. It gives the readers the desire to know what happened next. So the question, what happened next? Let us look at this poem. The attack. The noise was loud. Of smashed glass was the sound. The house was broken into. Everyone was scared. The fear among the family members was shared. The father came out of the room with only a Bible in his hands. No weapon formed against me shall prosper, he said. 3 armed robbers in the Christian house. Stata, bata, rata. A gunshot was heard. No, then silence. Do you know what happened next? Definitely no. The poem ends in suspense since it does not disclose who has shot who and whether the shot person gets killed or not. So this is a suspense. Surprise. This is a style of writing in which the story in the poem ends in a way that was never expected. So the ending can be good or bad. Let's see this example. The abnormal. Oh! She fell down from the overspeeding lorry. Cries were heard. Driver! They shouted. Vroom! The first car stepped on her, then a second car on her neck. 3 cars in a row. Before the lorry's driver applied a brake, the hope was gone. Tears checked out. The fellow passengers became sad. I'm not dead. Everyone was surprised. Did you expect the story to end in that way? Or did you expect the person to still be alive? Probably not. The girl was supposed to be dead. Therefore, since it has ended in a way we did not expect, it is then a surprise. Let us come to the figures of speech. In any case, a literature examination needs to have a question that borders on figures of speech. So you should not mistake a figure of speech with a poetic device, since these things mostly go together, but they are different. And we are going to differentiate this as we go ahead. So these figures of speech are 1, simile. This is whereby 2 unlike things are compared by using words as, like, than, more, less, like, equal to, and others. For example, her eyes are like a setting gun. In this example, since the eyes are said to be like a setting sun, the whole statement is a simile because we have the word like. Metaphor. It is a comparison of two unlike things without the use of words like, as, than, and other, comparing words. So, how is a metaphor different from simile? Metaphor looks at the two compared things as being one thing, unlike simile. In simile, the comparison does not take the two items being compared as one, but as just being related. While in metaphor, they are being considered as one. For example, she is an angel. She was my sunshine. So looking at these two sentences, there are two metaphors which the girl is being compared to without using like. One as an angel and the other as sunshine. How is it a metaphor? Since an angel do not physically exist and a person cannot be a sunshine, then these two are just the higher comparison of the girl's beauty and character, which link her to the sunshine and an angel, respectively, hence being a metaphor. I hope you're following. Now let's look at personification. This is when a non-human thing is made to act, feel, or appear as a human being. Such a non-human thing include animals, trees, mere things, and others. For example, my eyes think of your name always. Trees enjoy seeing us together. Let me ask you, can eyes think and trees enjoy seeing something as people do? Not at all. So these are just examples of personification. Hyperbole. This is a deliberate exaggeration of a point with an aim of entertaining the reader or emphasizing a particular point. In this case, a poet discusses something with an amplified mentality. For example, her beauty is so strong enough to heal a coronavirus positive patient. So, with what is known about coronavirus, I hope you know and you experienced that period. And you know the scars it has left on the faces of many continents in the world. Can the beauty of a person deal with it? No. This statement is aimed at emphasizing that the girl is very beautiful beyond any comparisons. Thus, a hyperbole. Understatement. This is when the importance of a thing is less or not stressed. It is a direct opposite of hyperbole. Let us take a look at this. Love and love. Not a thing important in this world. But why do people praise it? Do you see the understatement there? Love is the most important thing in this world, but is being expressed as not really necessary to humans. So it means this is understatement. We also have paradox. This is a statement that presents things which are contradictory to each other. Such a statement is mostly foolish and funny, but once interpreted well, it makes a good sense. For example, parting is such a sweet sorrow. So there are two things that are contradicting each other, sweet and sorrow. So in this, parting at the same time is a good and painful thing, which makes the statement be a paradox. It has two meanings. The first meaning is that sometimes it is good to leave each other, hoping to meet again soon, so that some things can continue to go on smoothly. As the parting happens, people feel nice as they reflect their enjoyable moments spent together. On the other hand, however, the statements indicate that if people are saying goodbyes to their dear lovers, they shed tears after remembering the sweet memories spent together, which makes their parting be a sorrowful situation. You see now? Irony. A mere irony is when what is said or written means the opposite. Imagine the feeling if someone tells you that you look nice while you have a swollen mouth due to a bee sting. Like, how would you feel? Like a king in person, right? Yes. In this case, the talker means the opposite of what is said. That is the notion behind the irony. So it could be said so as to mock someone. We have two types of irony, a situational irony and a dramatic irony. A situational irony is when what happens at the end of a poem, story, or play is contrary to what was expected to happen. A dramatic irony is when readers or viewers of a play or a story knows what has happened or what will happen in a story, while the partakers in it do not know. In Macbeth, for example, the readers of the play are aware that King Duncan is dead, while Macduff, who goes to wake him up, does not know. That's a dramatic irony. Symbol. This is a word, an act, an object, an animal, a place, or a person that is used to present a certain idea. No one can tell you of an acceptable symbol in literature, or I cannot tell you that these are acceptable symbols in literature, because it depends on the story you are reading. So symbols used depends on the story or the poem you are reading. For example, in this poem, the sun rose. He started feeling better. Darkness had gone. The rains had stopped. A week later, his illness was history. So from the poem, rain and darkness can be a symbol of problem, while the rising sun is a symbol of new beginning. Allusion. This is a word, phrase, or statement that refers to a particular occurrence in history or biblical times. This is done so as to emphasize the importance of a certain point. For example, "Mother!" he cried, tears flowing faster, like a water on Victoria Falls. His hour had struck. He looked exactly like a slave on his way to Europe. His death was near. He was treated harshly. It was a Golgotha scene. So the reference of the historical evil, slave trade, and biblical Golgotha are examples of allusion. Let us look at rhetorical questions. This is a question that does not need an answer from the reader, but seeks to persuade their feeling. They are found in most, I can say that in all gears of literature. For example, if he delays a bit, will it not be too late? What did you find as a rhetorical question in this sentence? Hope you have, will it not be too late? That is just true. If he delays, it will be too late. So, will it not be too late is just a rhetorical question, does not need an answer. Now, let us come to the last chapter of our lesson today, which is poetic device. These are words and sound effects that are used to make the poem interesting to read. Though not always, these literary devices are mostly associated with poetry, although they are also found in other literary works, but mostly they are used in poetry. It has to be noted that unlike figures of speech, poetic devices has no meaning, but rather has an aim of making the poem sound as a song. This means that it is a figure of speech that carries a meaning in a poem. So the difference between a poetic devices and a figure of speech is that poetic devices does not carry any meaning, but figures of speech do. So figures of speech carries a meaning. The common poetic devices that will be explained in this section include, so we have repetition, rhyming words, alliteration, assonance, consonance, imagery. Repetition. It is a deliberate writing of a word, phrase, or line in a poem. Sometimes a full stanza can be repeated. So repetition is done to stress the important elements that help in the understanding of the meaning of the whole poem. It is called attention of the reader to the most special words in a poem. So it calls us to the most special words in a poem. Take a look of repetition in the following poem. Not your business. It is me and only me, not you or someone else, who has control on my days. So who are you to decide on my life? Yes, it is me and only me. I feel ready being a wife, so go away with your evil, you devil. Let me and only me enjoy. After all, what is school for? So in the poem, in this above stanza, the phrase me and only has been repeated to clearly notify us that the person is so much self-centered, rude, and overconfident, who never wants to be told what to do. Maybe the parents are denying her to get married. So imagine someone speaking these words. It means the person is somehow rude. And then the repetition of me and only me is a repetition. Rhyming words. These are words that have identical sounds in part of their spelling. The sameness in sounding is mostly in the final syllable, though other rhyming words may divert from this notion. Let us look at this. Your burden is for me too, for we are one despite being two. Your happiness is my food. Your smile makes me feel good. So the words to and two, food and good, are examples of rhyming words. Alliteration. This is a repetitive use of consonant sounds at the beginning of neared words. Alliteration sounds sweet when alliterated word is a voiced one. For example, bad best friends do not discuss darling destinies, but bear borders behind bad walls of bars. So the repetition of the B and the D sounds are examples of alliteration. Consonance is a repetitive use of consonantal sound at the end of the neared words. Mostly, consonants, we are talking of the consonant words and not the vowels, but consonants. So they are highly associated with rhyming words. For example, Dad had a bad bird. Dad had a bad bird. So the D sound repeated at the end of had, bad, and bird exemplifies consonants. We also have assonants. This is a repetitive use of vowel sounds in words that are neared. So with the consonants, we are looking at the repetition of consonant sounds. But in assonants, we are looking at repetition of vowel sounds. So vowel sounds we have a, e, o, u. Those are vowel sounds. Mostly, assonant sounds better with the higher pitched sounds. Cut that mat. Cut that mat. The repetition of the A sound in cut, that, and mat is an example of assonance. We also have imagery. This is the presentation of words that create a vivid mental picture in the mind of the reader. This creating of mental pictures decorates the poem and makes it appear real and lively. So the word choice by the writer appeals to all 5 human senses. So we know the human senses: sight, sound, touch, taste, and smell. Let us read the following poem and visualize the issues expressed there. The Bond. A smile on her pink lips as he gently kissed her golden hips. He moved a cake with his mouth towards hers, then claps and beautiful ululations. Their mouth chewed on the union cake. The moment was so much to take. The cake tasted sugary and milky sweet as they drank from the same cup. The peach aroma pleased their noses. It was a day full of roses. She was precious like a classic glass. And the wedding was of class. In her beautiful white dress, she glowed like a morning sun. What sensory imagination did you have from the poem? I think among them were the following. In sight, an imaging smile on the lady's lips, so we can imagine someone smiling. Touch, a gentle kissing of the man on the lady's lips. Sound, the clapping of hands and ululations. Taste, the sugary and milk smack of the sweet cake. Smell, the peach flower or flavor of the drink. So we can see that we have used the human senses to understand what imagery is all about. Thank you so much that you were with me in this lesson. This marks the end of our lesson. And in our next lesson, we are going to analyze a few poems. So make sure that you stay tuned. Good luck.